We just don't mess up and say
Jackson County. Unedited. We like a lot of mess ups.
Not
We
professional?
mess up. She's gonna edit all the goof ups out.
Okay,
What else?
repeat after me.
Okay.
Captain,
Did you know he's like legit?
my nephew, which I have changed his diapers, and just so everybody knows.
I knew him when he was just a middle-aged uncle. Here, Jackson's County.
No, Jackson County. It's singular.
Captain? Captain of the-
No editing control.
Nope.
On this cut.
Try again.
Right. On this episode, episode 15, I get to plug my new magazine coming to Oklahoma City, BetterHorses.com.
Ready?
Ready?
Hello, everyone. This is episode 15 of Steve's Horse Show. I am your host, Stephen D. Cook, and today I had to call in a family member because I couldn't find anyone to be on my show. My uncle, Ed Adams, is going to introduce himself because he does so many things, he's not sure what he wants to be today. Proud owner of a boarding stable in
Kansas City, Missouri.
Kansas City, Missouri, but he also is a proud captain, I just found out,
Of the Jackson County Sheriff's Mounted Posse in Kansas City.
in Kansas City, and that is a fancy title for he rides a horse a lot.
Yes, that's what we do.
I like to talk about the search and rescue stuff the most. That is what I think is the coolest part. Talk about what you do when things happen and you have to go search through the woods or through. Most of the time, it's hard to reach areas, right?
It is. So when you talk about the Jackson County Sheriff's Mounted Posse, it's a volunteer organization that was established back in 1948. And what we do is we do a lot of the PR for the Sheriff's Department on horseback. And so in some cases in Missouri, unlike Oklahoma, there's a lot of brush and there's a lot of wooded areas that haven't been developed yet. So the Mounted Posse works for the Sheriff's Department. So if they're looking for any stranded bodies and people that are lost, they call out the Mounted Posse. And then they call which we have about 22 horses. And we're trained in a paramilitary operation. So
Hold
that
on.
we know.
Do you carry a gun?
No, I'm kind of like Barney Fife, which I get one bullet, and that's all I
Do
get.
they give you a slingshot at least?
And no, we are peacekeepers. We can't.
So
make
they
the
tell you?
Yeah, and so they'll ask and say we have a cadaver body out here. Go find it. And so we have to do, because on horseback we're kind of like the 12-foot police officer, so we can see over horizon better than ATFs or AT motor vehicles or anything like that. So that's why they use us for their search and rescue program. So now what do we do?
Okay, so we go back to the boarding question. Would that
Okay.
be the easiest to cut?
Yeah.
Okay, so you also own a boarding stable. Talk a little bit about that. How many horses do you have there?
So 26 horses standing. So it's a 26 stall barn, and we are full, and we have a waiting list, which is really nice. And I think the boarding
Because
facilities.
you don't charge enough.
Yes, hopefully this
Simple
doesn't air
business.
on.
Let's talk about silver. I think you need to go up on your prices. Tell your customers how nice you are.
So, and I think that's the pitch.
You should enjoy
And
the fun part.
They can go and travel, have vacations, and they know that their horses are taken care of and turned out and grained and hayed, and the stalls are clean, which is always kind of fun.
So this is our first ever question show. We're going to read a few questions that we had from Facebook.
Q&As?
Q&As. And we're mostly nutrition questions. First question was from Becca Giles.
Becca Giles.
She says, what is a better pelleted feed? What is better, a pelleted feed or a non-pelleted feed for performance horses? So I guess the age-old question, sweet feed, pelleted feed, is what she's asking.
We get that a lot. So depending on nutritionists will also
So
weigh in
Ed's
on
taken
this.
off of this question.
So
Go ahead.
I did, because you're going
Go
to
ahead.
tell them the right answer after I give you just a fake answer. The fake answer, there's no real answer here. So there is a lot of people say, I don't like pelleted feed because my horses choke. And usually thoroughbreds, if you're looking at raising horses, they like to down it as soon as you put it in there. So there are things you can do. We put salt blocks in our feeder, so that slows down the intake of the pelleted feed. But at the end of the day, and then some people try to water down the pelleted feed. So
Senior horses,
Senior
mostly.
horses like that. So that's my answer. I don't think there is a difference.
So let me take you back to the history of pelleted feed. The whole reason why
It's exciting.
textured feed came about is because pelleted feed back in the day, companies found out that people were feeding pelleted feed, so what they would do is they would just sweep a bunch of junk and then cram it into a pellet and call it a 12% pellet. And so the problem is that people started figuring out, hey, they said it's the same thing as this textured feed, but now this pelleted feed, my horse looks terrible. We'll kind of find out they were just using those pellets to get rid of all their junk ingredients. And
I'm so proud
Ed
of my
feeds
nephew.
Ed.
That's such a good answer.
That's a real
That was
answer.
really good.
And
really good.
so the problem is that pellets got a bad rap after a while because everyone's like, oh, that's junk, don't feed pellets. And so it's gone back and forth. Well, now we're almost going the other way where people think that a sweet feed makes their horse hyper or there's too much starch and sugar in there. And so really, I think the real answer now that there's so much government regulations and control over it, you're not going to get ripped off one way or the other, obviously. I mean, they're so tight and stringent with the laws and regulations in mills. So I don't think there's really a right or wrong answer. A lot of people are confused about the molasses. They think that it's going to make their horse too much sugar, too much of that. What I like to talk about is, the amount of molasses in a sweet feed is going to be 2%, 3%, somewhere in there.
It's minimal.
And so you're feeding, 6 pounds. I don't know the math on this, but it's a few ounces is what you end up getting of sugar. And you're talking about a 1,000-pound horse. That's like giving a sucker to a kid and be like, yeah, he's bouncing off the walls now because he got a sucker. And so I think a lot of times people are like, oh, I fed him this sweet feed. Look at him now. He's kicking the wall down. And so a lot of times I think that it's a misconception that one way or the other, but I don't think you're going to lose either way.
That's a common question. Everybody gets that, especially when we get to barns. We don't have the right answer for it. I said there's really no big difference, but that was a really good answer.
Show him this video.
And this is why you got to go to Cook Feeds, because he has the answer.
Plug.
Like the best
I don't
thing
like to plug.
You don't.
It's on my page. They already know who I am.
Shameless, I'm sorry.
All right, Robin Broadway.
Robin Broadway.
Got the next. She says, I have a very fat horse. Hopefully your horse doesn't get wind of this.
Yep.
She is on Nutrena Safe Choice Special Care. She gets 1 cup twice a day, no hay, and I'm about to put a grazing muzzle on. What can I do better?
Okay, what can I do better? First of all, compliments doing the grazing muzzle. That's always good, especially if you're having a pasture horse.
That's a lot of work.
That's a lot of work. And a lot of people think that's cruel to a horse. It's really not. They get used to it really quick. And grazing muzzle is the fast thing. We have the same problem, especially when people don't ride the horses enough. And I think exercise, at the end of the day, as much as we're going to give you lots of tricks to reduce rate, exercising, riding the horse is the number one thing you can be doing to offset that. Grazing muzzle is a good answer. The Safe Choice is a good answer. Any low starch, low calorie, low sugars type stuff, we've actually reduced down. That's a good Nutrena solution. The Purina solution, Enrich, half pound or a pound a day.
I think that would even be closer because it's higher protein. I mean, it doesn't have, now the Safe Choice is a low starch.
Low starch.
But the Enrich has got all the vitamins and minerals you need to only feed, a pound or half pound or whatever.
And that solution worked at our barn. We have a lot of overweight horses, and so you only want to feed a pound a day, and we feed twice a day, so a half pound, and that works. And we've been very successful with that solution.
So what do you think about hay, though? I mean, hay, scientifically, hay is supposed to be about 80% of the horse's diet.
Yes.
She says she's taking the hay away. I almost think she should go with like a lower nutrition hay. I know I don't want a poor nutrition hay, but something like,
We're making assumptions here. We're making assumptions that she's not doing any pasture out there. So if you're not doing any pasture, do not cut back on the hay because they need that forage.
Right.
They have to get through that. So cutting back on hay is not the right answer. So they need that just to survive and to keep their health up. And to keep the internals and the organs all moving in the intestines. So I wouldn't reduce too much hay, but I would give, like you said, I wouldn't be feeding alfalfa.
Right.
So a nice low grass hay would be a good idea.
Completely agree.
Okay, we're on the same page, so we're not arguing. So this could be a debate here. So.
Last question. Let's see what happens.
Here we go. I'm ready.
Kristen Corey says, what do you recommend to relieve boredom in horses? This is your question probably more than mine because of the boarding stable. Do you have a lot of horses that crib or weave or go crazy?
Especially we have a lot of problem with that. Especially when the vets come in and say, okay, stall rest for 6 months.
That's probably the first question I wish we could have followed up, but stall or pasture would be
stall or pasture. So we're making.
I would
some
imagine
assumptions
stall.
Here. Yeah. So boredom's really, if they're out in their pasture, we're going to assume they're not bored. They can find themselves to keep their. So we're assuming your question was from a boarding facility and she's in a stall. And let's just amplify the question and say, we're going to stall this horse for 6 months. What are you going to do? So jolly balls. Everybody jumps on the jolly balls. Yep. That's a great solution. However, that's only effective for about 3 weeks because that becomes part of the stall and the horse doesn't do anything with it. I like salt licks, keeping the horse together from there. At the end of the day, visit your horse, walk your horse out. You're not going to put anything in that stall that's going to keep that horse from having
Because anything,
zero
they're
ball.
going to get used to it.
They're
after
going
a
to
while.
get, it's going to be part of the environment, so they're going to get really used to it fast. So the only thing to reduce that boredom, one is if you can provide a window to another horse, that's always good. That puts comfort
Right.
and that calms them down. We like that idea.
They
and
are
then
herd animals.
They are herd and they're very social.
Yeah.
Just like we are. We're very social. And
You more than me, maybe.
And very social. And so I think that's it. I think you really have to get the horse out of the stall, and you really have to work with it. And when you play with a horse and when you get your horse out, you are just part of the herd.
Right.
So keep that in mind too. So that's what he needs and she needs, and they're gilded. So
Yeah.
that was my answer.